I'm starting with 11 by 14 mixed media paper, and you can use a variety of brushes. This is just like a 1/2 inch or 3/4 inch flat brush. I've pre-wet my watercolor so that they're already kind of primed, and you notice that I put a stripe of plain water down so you can see what a wet on wet technique looks like, and then just coming around and mixing colors and adding more stripes as I go. Sometimes I'll turn my brush on the side like you just saw so I can make thin lines, thick lines. I let the stripes touch each other so the colors bleed together, but just have fun with this. I like doing the stripes in this orientation so that they turn into lines that you could write on or journal on or add quotes to, things like that. So this particular orientation for the book that we're doing is best if you want to write on these lines. At this point, I'm going to make sure everything gets dry. I used a dryer, but you could just let it air dry. And first we're going to fold long ways. We call this the hamburger fold, long and skinny. Go ahead and crease it. Use a bone folder or the back of a spoon or something that will help you press that crease in. And then we're going to fold each edge out to that center fold so it creates an accordion fold. And again, using my bone folder to make that crease nice and tight. Make sure you line up your edges. Take extra special care to make sure that these edges are lined up so that everything goes together nicely. I'll also fold it the other direction. This is called the hamburger fold. So in the center going the other direction. Again, making quite sure that those edges are lined up precisely as you can. And then I'm going to reverse all of those folds again just to make sure that everything, that the paper is kind of broken down in those fold edges. It makes it a lot easier for this to go together and not be too difficult to fold later. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to use a pair of scissors to cut through in just a moment when I get done with that fold. We're cutting on that center crease from the hamburger fold, and we're going to cut through 3 of the 4 sections right on that crease. Next, I'm going to use glue stick, and that portion that didn't get cut through, we're going to go ahead and liberally apply some glue stick there. Really only needs to be on one side of it, but I'm going across both panels so that I make sure that there's no dry spots. It really is best to not go over that one panel. You don't want to go onto the other sections. And then again, aligning those corners just to make sure that everything is lined up as best as I can do. And then we're going to see the fold here. Everything goes back into that accordion fold. But those two blank pages go edge to edge or face to face, so you end up with something that looks like this. This is a zine, but the orientation of it is long and skinny instead of short and squat. And if that doesn't make any sense, don't worry about it. This is just one of the two ways that you could orient your pamphlet, or zine, as this is. Zine is short for magazine. I'm using my paper towel to blot up some extra water that was on there. There was still a little bit of watercolor that wasn't dry yet. And you want to turn it every which way and see what seems to make the most sense. This is 98-pound mixed media paper. I prefer like a 90-pound watercolor paper, nothing heavier than that. It is going to be really difficult to have these pages fold and turn without getting really wonky. And there's nothing wrong with wonky, but it really is best to have a lighter weight paper with this. And then you see in that part that I split, the glue got a little bit on the back side. It seeped out a little bit, or I overshot that panel. So just remove the excess glue and try and not do that. Now you have this inside area that is plain white. This is great for journaling or having some other, you'll see, I'm going to go ahead and add some more watercolor to it, because why not? It's plain right now, but you can choose what you want to do. You could alternatively paint both sides of your paper before you do this, and then you wouldn't have to paint it once it's in book form. But it's entirely up to you. You can leave that plain, or you can paint both sides of the paper. You can use a variety of brush sizes to get different marks, like you're seeing me use this smaller round brush to make thinner lines around those orbs that I first painted with that flat brush. But mix it up, use different things, use what you have. And sometimes I'll use the paint more concentrated, less water. Sometimes I'll add more water and have it be nice and watery. But it is entirely up to you. The hardest part of this is getting your watercolor diluted down. So remember, it's called watercolor because water is the most important activating ingredient in this process. So you want to make sure you're adding enough water, that you're not painting on that you're not putting it on too thick and pasty. But if you do, it's not a mistake. It's just your design choice. But watercolor is a really concentrated color and needs lots of water to have that beautiful fluid, transparent effect. We're just finishing up painting in some of that background, and once it's dry, as you can see, I'm just putting it back into its folded formation so you can see your zine here ready for you to add words or other marks. Coming over top of this with a colored pencil is really fun to add another dimensional layer. But there you have it. It's what I call my Hitchhiker journal.